Hi folks, I'm Sean and this is Pens at All. Welcome. Here we like to talk about fountain pens, writing, fountain pen inks, sometimes paper, and hopefully have a little bit of fun. If you have any ideas for future videos, feel free to please leave them in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do. Today, we're going to talk about the Visconti Van Gogh, one of my favorite pens. One of the cool things about Visconti as a company, which was established in 1988, is they've set up their mission to create high-performing tools that are also beautiful works of art. And I think in the Van Gogh, they've really accomplished this. The Van Gogh line started out as a limited special edition set, but it was so popular that Van Gogh kept it on as one of their regular lines of pens. And I'm glad they did. Periodically, Van Gogh updates which models it includes in the Van Gogh line, and those models are based on a specific painting of Vincent van Gogh. In fact, the colors of each pen are designed to emulate, match, evoke one of Van Gogh's famous paintings. And in today's video, I'm going to look at the Van Gogh's chair. Okay, let's talk about the pen and what you get with it. Let's start from the top. At the top you have Visconti's My Visconti system, which when you order the pen comes with a little metal cap that has the company logo on it. Now, if you're not familiar with the My Visconti system, what it is this little cap with the logo is held on by a high-power magnet, and it can be removed and replaced with some other sort of finial cap. Sometimes folks like to put on little gemstones and some other things. In order to take this off, you need a special magnet tool that Visconti will sell you, and then you can put the new little finial end cap back on. Moving down the cap features Visconti's trademark bridge clip. What this clip does is it emulates the arches of the Ponte Vecchio in Florence, which is the home of Visconti pens. I think it's really kind of nice. It's got a beautiful line to it. The cap itself is a magnetic closure. It pops on and off just fine. In fact, you get a nice little satisfying click when you put the cap back on. The cap band has on one side the name Van Gogh embossed, and on the back you have Visconti and Italy embossed on the back as well. The barrel and cap are faceted. They're not smooth, and the faceting is an 18-side faceting. Now, Visconti claims that this is a first in fountain pens. I don't know if it is. I haven't researched that, but it is very nice. It gives a tactile experience to the pen body and the pen cap. When it's uncapped, it acts as a roll stop if you set it down on your desk. The cap band kind of prevents that if it's capped because it's perfectly round. The barrel and cap on this particular model are done in a yellow and blue and green sort of swirl meant to emulate the painting Vincent's Chair, painted by Vincent van Gogh in 1888. If you have any more interest in some of the things surrounding this particular painting or Van Gogh in general, check out my blog, Pens at All. The nib of the pen is stainless steel on this model. It is a medium nib, and it is a good medium. It's kind of a true medium if you ask me, and we'll see that in the writing sample. In the nib is etched Visconti's nib design, which I think is pretty beautiful. It has the crescent breather hole, the crescent moon breather hole, which I think, again, is very beautiful. It's lovely. On the back of the feed, which is plastic, it has a small little Visconti V near the intake hole, which again is a nice little point of detail that makes this pen beautiful and well designed and well thought out. Now you can see that the section is a metal section. Now a lot of people don't like metal sections because your fingers can slip and slide on the metal. I don't find that to happen with this particular metal section. I can write with it just fine. There is a little bit of a step that can help prevent your fingers from sliding, but I don't even feel them slipping on this particular pen. It could be that the width of the section, along with the particular type of metal or the finish of the metal, doesn't cause my fingers to slip while I'm writing, which is actually in opposition to another pen that I have with a metal section that is made by Monteverde. That's my Regatta Sport model, which my fingers slip on that all the time. So this one, I don't find that to happen. I find that the metal section is just fine and my fingers aren't slipping, and it's a good writing experience with this particular pen. So let's look at some writing samples. I do 2 writing samples. One is going to be your typical writing sample with a little bit of line variation and the phrase quick brown fox, which a lot of people like to use. And then I'll offer another writing sample that is a little bit more involved and oftentimes comes with a quote. And today's quote is from the letters of St. Vincent. So let's look at the writing samples. Okay, folks, here we have the Visconti Van Gogh. And this is Vincent's chair, or Van Gogh's chair, in a medium steel nib. The ink I'm using today is one of my favorite greens. It is Colorverse Schrödinger. And here's the bottle. It's one of my favorite greens. I really like it a lot. All right, so let's see how this pen writes. Quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. As you can see, it's got a very nice fine nib, a good medium nib. It is not a fine nib, it is a medium nib, but it's a good medium nib. It writes very smoothly. There's not a whole lot of line variation, but that's to be expected because of the steel nib. You can get a little bit. And reverse writing is a little bit scratchy. I wouldn't reverse write with this too much, but it can be done in a pinch. It's a lot better than the Noodlers that I reviewed a little while back. In terms of wetness, I find it to be a kind of like a medium wetness. It isn't super wet, it's not super dry either. You can see that's a little bit dry there, but so there's the Visconti. So, what are some of my celebrations for the Van Gogh from Visconti? As I mentioned before, I absolutely adore the color. The color combination of yellows, blues, and greens is absolutely lovely, and it evokes an emotional response in me. If you're interested in a little bit more of my reflection on color and emotion and Vincent himself, go check out my blog, pensetall.com. You'll enjoy that. I really think you will. This pen is lovely, and it does that. It is a wonderful, beautiful work of art, which is part of Visconti's mission, and they've accomplished it. The faceted body provides a tactile feel. It gives you a sense of holding on to something special, and I really like that as well. The magnetic cap is another thing that I like very much. It's easy on and off for when you need to jot down a quick note, and the satisfying click of that magnet snapping into place. I really enjoy that. It's all part of the sensory experience of using the pen, and I really appreciate that. The writing is smooth. I didn't find the writing to be difficult or unpleasant in any way. There's a bit of drag on the paper, but again, it's part of that tactile experience when writing, and I very much enjoy that. As I mentioned before, the metal section can be a sticking point for some folks, and I don't find that to be the case with this particular pen. My fingers don't slip. I can hold on to the pen comfortably without holding on to it with a death grip to make sure my fingers don't slip. And that is in contrast to one of my other pens that has a metal section. My fingers slip on that all the time. On this, they don't, and the writing experience is positive and nice. I find the weight to be appropriate for its size and for its materials. In fact, the weight is comfortable enough that when I wrote the blog post for this particular pen, I could do 5 full A4 pages straight through without really any stopping and wasn't tired at all. That's how I do my pen reviews on the blog, is I hand write out the first draft. And I was able to do this on 5 full pages of writing. And so I think that weight plus the writing experience of the nib going across the paper makes this a very fine writer. And again, the pen is just beautiful. I just adore how beautiful this pen is. But like with other things, there are some things that I don't like quite so much. So let's look at those next. Okay, so what are some areas for growth for Visconti's Van Gogh fountain pen? Though I like the way the clip looks, the Ponte Vecchio design I think is very nice and looks beautiful. I don't think it's the most practical design for a clip. In order to get it in your pocket, you have to pull on it, slide it in, and then let it go. Most folks who like to put their pens in their pockets just want to clip it and forget it. I don't use the clip on any of my pens. Usually I rarely put my clip in my pocket, and I wear t-shirts a lot, not a lot of pockets. But I can see how some folks would have to get used to this particular design. It's not difficult to get used to, but it is something that needs getting used to. The finial is another kind of gimmicky sort of thing. I like the logo the way it is. I'm not one for swapping that particular thing out, especially when you have to buy a $15 magnet in order to take it off. Folks who like to personalize their pens, that's an option. That's definitely something that they may enjoy. I don't particularly. I think the personalization of this particular pen's color design is enough personalization for me. Everyone is unique because of the way the swirls in the acrylic resin are created. So that finial, while it's nice, again, might be gimmicky for some folks. The big area for growth would be the converter. From what I understand by reading the forums, is Visconti's converters have a tendency to have their own laws of physics in regard to surface tension. I don't know what it is, but Visconti converters, it seems, have a tendency to trap ink and create bubbles within the converter. And I don't know how this works. I experienced it with mine. The ink would get stuck towards the top, not flow into the feed, and then once the feed dried out, I'd lose my ink, and I'd have to turn the piston to force the ink further into the converter so that it would get into the nib and the feed. After reading the forums, I found that one technique for perhaps addressing this is to clean the feed with soapy water, not very much soap, perhaps a pen flush or 1 drop of soap in your cleaning water. And to also do the same thing with the converter. This leaves behind a bit of a residue that can help to break up that surface tension from what the folks in the forums say. And it worked for me. Since doing that, since giving that attention to my pen, I have not experienced any of that loss of ink flow. So yeah, try that out if you have this pen and that seems to be an issue for you. Otherwise, the pen is wonderful. Those areas of celebration are personal. The converter thing is something that's easily overcome, and so it's a great pen, even with those little tidbits. Well, that's Visconti's Van Gogh fountain pen in the Van Gogh's chair model. Overall, I love this pen. It's one of my favorite pens. The aesthetics of this particular writing instrument are just to die for, I think. The combination of the yellows and the blues and the greens in the acrylic resin, the lines of the clip and the cap band, the facets on the body are all wonderful. In terms of writing, it's a fine writer. It's enjoyable to write with. It's smooth. I enjoy the writing experience with this pen, and that's why we get into this hobby, isn't it? Yes, some of us are here more for the aesthetics, some are more for the writing, but it's all of it that makes a good pen, and I think this particular pen meets those. If you want some more information or from more reflections on this particular pen and some still images that I took of the pen, go check out my blog, pensetall.com. I have a wonderful little reflection on how color and emotion work together in Vincent's paintings as well as in this particular pen. Feel free to debate the characteristics of Visconti's Van Gogh line in the comments. I'd love to see what you all have to think and what your experiences are, particularly with the converter. Have you had the same experiences of losing ink flow because of surface tension issues inside the converter? Let me know what your solutions were. Thanks so much for coming and watching this video. I really do very much appreciate your time. We all have so many things going on in our lives that to take a few minutes out to watch this video about a pen, I really do appreciate it, and thank you so very much. If you're inclined to do so, feel free to subscribe and like the video. Let me know what your ideas are for maybe future videos. I'd love to do things that you would like to see. Again, thank you so much for being here. You're awesome. You all are awesome. And I'll catch you later.